Walk into any university library during finals week. What do you see? You see rows of students hunched over textbooks, surrounded by empty energy drink cans, highlighters in 5 different colors, and a look of absolute desperation in their eyes. They have been there for 8 hours. They will be there for 4 more. They are wearing their sleep deprivation like a badge of honor, convinced that their suffering is proof of their hard work. They are lying to themselves. Most of those students are not studying. They are performative reading. They are moving their eyes over pages, highlighting sentences that feel important, and rereading notes they took 3 months ago. They feel productive because it feels like work. It is tedious, it is boring, and it takes forever. But if you tested them 10 minutes later on the paragraph they just highlighted, most of them would fail. They are confusing familiarity with mastery. Just because you recognize the words on the page doesn't mean you can use them in an exam. Recognition is passive. It happens in the visual cortex. Recall is active. It happens in the hippocampus and neocortex. Exams test recall, not recognition. If you are currently studying, by reading and rereading, you are wasting 80% of your time. You are trying to fill a bucket with a spoon while there is a hole in the bottom. I'm going to teach you how to study for your next exam in half the time you usually spend, while doubling your retention. This isn't about reading faster. It is about changing the direction of the data flow. We are switching from input-based learning to output-based learning. Here is the 4-step efficiency protocol to hack your exams. Step 1. The prediction engine. Reverse engineering. Most students start studying by opening the textbook to page 1. This is a fatal error. Textbooks are written to be comprehensive encyclopedias of a subject. They are not written to get you an A on a specific exam. The exam is a finite game. It is written by a specific professor or a specific board, and humans are creatures of habit. They ask the same types of questions year after year. Before you ever look at your notes, you need to reverse engineer the test. Spend the first hour of your study block acting like a detective, not a student. Gather the last 5 years of past papers or practice exams. Map them out. What topics show up every single year? What topics haven't appeared in a decade? You will discover the Pareto distribution of the course. 80% of the marks come from 20% of the curriculum. Identify the high-yield topics. These are your non-negotiables. You study these first. You study them deepest. Identify the low-yield noise. These are the obscure footnotes that might show up for 1 point. You study these last or not at all. By defining the battlefield before you start fighting, you eliminate hours of wasted time studying things that will never be tested. Step 2. Parkinson's compression, the deadline. Work expands to fill the time available for its completion. This is Parkinson's law. If you give yourself 2 weeks to study for a biology test, it will take you 2 weeks. You will procrastinate, you will read slowly, you will take long breaks. Your brain knows it has a buffer, so it operates in low power mode. You need to artificially construct a crisis. Cut your study time in half. Literally. If you think you need 6 hours to master a chapter, give yourself 3. Set a timer on your desk. Make it visible. When you know you only have 3 hours, you don't have time to highlight. You don't have time to check your phone. You don't have time to daydream. Your brain is forced to prioritize. You instantly look for the most critical information. You enter a state of hyper-efficiency. The pressure forces you to focus on the signal and ignore the noise. You aren't being lazy, you are being efficient. You are training your brain to absorb data at the speed of a deadline. Step 3. The blurting method. Active recall on steroids. This is the core technique. This replaces reading. Open your textbook or your notes to a specific section. Let's say the Krebs cycle. Read it once. Give yourself a time limit, e.g. 5 minutes. Focus intensely. Now, close the book. Push it away. Take a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Write down absolutely everything you can remember about the Krebs cycle. Draw the diagrams. Label the chemicals. Explain the process. Scribble it out fast. Do not stop until your brain is completely empty. It will feel uncomfortable. You will feel your brain straining to find the information. You will get frustrated because you can't remember the third step. Good. That strain is the feeling of learning. That is the feeling of neural pathways being reinforced. When you read, it feels easy because the answer is right in front of you. When you blurt, it feels hard because you have to retrieve it. Once you have written everything you know, open the book again. Switch to a red pen. Correct your mistakes. Fill in the gaps. Look at the red ink. That is your knowledge gap. That is the only thing you need to study next time. You have just exposed exactly what you don't know in 10 minutes, whereas passive reading would have hidden your ignorance for hours. Step 4. Interleaving, the mixer. Traditional studying is blocked. You study math for 4 hours on Monday, history for 4 hours on Tuesday, and biology for 4 hours on Wednesday. This feels organized, but it is neurologically inefficient. By hour 3 of math, your brain is saturated. You are experiencing diminishing returns. You are just going through the motions. The hack is interleaving. Mix the subjects. Study math for 45 minutes. Then switch to history for 45 minutes. Then biology. Then back to math. Why? Because every time you switch subjects, you force your brain to reload the context. It has to dump the math variables and load the history dates. This reloading process is cognitively expensive. It feels harder, but research shows it drastically improves long-term retention. It also keeps you fresh. You never hit that zombie state because the topic keeps changing. You are constantly forcing your brain to adapt to a new challenge. The teach it test, Feynman technique. Finally, if you want to know if you are ready for the exam, try to teach the concept to an empty chair or your cat. Don't use jargon. Don't use complex vocabulary. Explain it in simple language. Imagine the mitochondria is like a power plant. If you get stuck, or if you have to use a fancy word because you don't understand the underlying concept well enough to simplify it, you have found a hole in your armor. Go back to the source material. Fix the hole. Try again. If you can explain it simply, you own it. If you can't, you are just renting the memorization. The summary. Studying is not about putting time in. It is about getting data out. The student who spends 12 hours in the library reading passively will lose to the student who spends 4 hours doing aggressive active recall. Reverse engineer the exam using past papers. Compress your time using Parkinson's law. Use the blurting method to force retrieval. Interleave your subjects to stay sharp. Stop wearing your burnout as a trophy. Burnout doesn't get you grades. Efficiency gets you grades. Get in. Extract the data. Get out. You have a life to live. If you are ready to stop wasting your youth in the library and start hacking your education, subscribe to BrainOS. We work smarter, not harder.